Okay, so today we are going to be talking about episode 1 of the challenge, season 40, Battle of the Eras. So, we're going to start off with a launch special in the beginning. There's not really much to say about it. I liked it, I thought it was interesting. I like seeing everyone interact and all the dynamics of the four eras for the first time. They hinted at a couple of hookups that might be going along the way, like Brad and Emily were feeling each other. Um, I'm really excited. It's crazy that Aviv is finally back after all these years. This is her first appearance in like a really long time. Laurel and Kara is one of the most interesting dynamics, if not probably the most anticipated dynamic that everyone is really excited to see. I'm ready to see the two of them. Laurel, Kara, and Bananas on the same era together is something that is going to be very messy, and I'm really here for it. Excited to see Tony and Bananas back together. Tony and Corey also after Pastagate. The missing guy. So they don't really show. So they didn't really. So Jordan comes in late, so he's not really there right now. But yeah, there's a missing guy. I loved how everyone was like talking shit about Era 4, calling them tryhards and everything. Like when Mark said something along the lines of, "Look at those tryhards." That is so funny to see the new era and the old era beefing. That's really funny to me. Really excited to see Nuri's and Olivia and Horatio's dynamic after what happened on 39. After Olivia backstabbed Nuri's, I'm really excited to see them in the same house together. That's gonna be messy. I love how Amanda was like looking up to the OG Mean Girls because she's like Satan spawn and like the devil. So I love how she like looked up to them. That was pretty cool. The toast got kind of messy because usually Johnny does the toast, but instead Rachel does it, and that was like a whole mess on Twitter or whatever, where Johnny said he's never doing a toast again because they cut his out. Like, so what? Like, who cares? No, Rachel's toast was pretty cool. I don't care. What she said was true about females carrying the franchise because they honestly do. Like, the franchise wouldn't be where it's at without the females. Like, every iconic franchise is carried by the females, so that wasn't a lie. They get to the house and it looks really nice. There were a lot of rumors. Castmates like Jordan even came out and spoke against production for the living conditions, but the house's aesthetic and the living conditions aren't the same thing. So I understand that even the house is beautiful, the living conditions weren't the best. Like allegedly they had to use porta potties instead of actual bathrooms, and the kitchen space was awesome. I really want to see what the kitchen looks like because the cast said that the kitchen was terrible and they couldn't even, it was really hard to, with the kitchen. So I would love to see what that looks like. I love the old pictures on the wall. That was really cute. Seeing DM made me want to cry, made me want to tear up. Tori and Amanda's dynamic is going to be really cool to see that because they have like beef or whatever. So that's another dynamic that I'm looking forward to. It was really funny, Johnny shoving Anissa into the pool. They hint at a possible Michelle and Devin hookup, and then Olivia and Theo, so that's also interesting. I love the scene between Naya and Laurel talking about her vape addiction. That was really cool. That's actually, she was actually on the original cast with Ride or Dies with Jordan, but then she got cut because of that. And then she even developed a panic disorder. And I think conversations like these are really important to have. So I love how Naya did open up about that. I love Naya. I really loved seeing her growth and seeing how mature she's gotten. And it just goes to show that some people actually do change and genuinely get better and things like that. So this is a question that I've been wanting an answer to for a really long time now. Kara and Amanda, there's been like rumbles and talks of them putting their beef aside to fight Tori. That is something I've been wondering. Like, did they squash their beef? Are they cool? And Kara buried her horse. And now it's time to bury the hatchet. Took me out. That was so funny. So it's interesting to know that they're cool and we might get a potential Tori versus Kara and Amanda rivalry coming up. And last but not least, we have Jordan's entrance to the house. Fun fact, they actually waited 6 days for him to come. So they were just in the house for 6 days doing nothing but filming promo, waiting for him to come. That's crazy. So yeah, Jordan finally comes in, and then that is where it finally leads us into the first episode where we get to the opening daily, where all 40 people compete, the biggest cast in history. Let's get this going. Premiere night. And so yeah, the prize pot, I don't like, this is something I didn't like how they made it seem like, oh, like $1 million. It's like, it's $1 million It's $1 million every season. Like, I don't know why that was such a big surprise. If they were smart, they would have saved the $1 million cash prizes for the milestone seasons, like Dirty 30, Final Reckoning, and then just went back to the normal one. So that way, whenever they did finally get to another milestone season, they would have been like, holy shit. Because I really wanted to be shook. I wanted to be like, oh my, like, I said, oh my, like I was on Dirty 30. And other, but now, like, I can't really do that anymore because, like, you do it every season. So your production just doesn't think anything through. But yeah, if they were smart, they would have just saved the $1 million for this season. Then we actually would have been shook and would have been like, oh my gosh. So TJ reveals that there is a purge, and they're getting rid of the weakest links at what we call the Air Invitational, and one guy and one girl from each era is going home off the bat. So yeah, way to raise the stakes. That's pretty crazy. So a lot of castmates actually spoke out about the order of everyone finishing not being shown. I think Olivia said she got third, but they made it look like she got fourth. Josh said he got second. But he said, but go off, hater in the editing room. He said some hater in the editing room did him dirty and made it look like, and other people spoke out too. So that was interesting. Laurel finishes first. I'm sorry, but I think it's so funny that Cara got second to Laurel. I get, because it pretty much sums up their dynamic and relationship and rivalry. Like, she really is just always second to Laurel. So she's on a mission to beat Laurel this season. So we'll see how that goes. That's interesting. But yeah, Laurel, Cara, and CT get theirs first, and Laurel blows everyone out of the fucking water. It was actually said that they made it closer than it was when she actually did beat everyone by a large margin. So that's great. Yeah, the editing is really disappointing. I wish they would edit it better. I wish they would show things for how they were and how they actually happened, rather than just whatever narrative they want to show, and make the show better, make it more interesting. I didn't like how people were helping people out. That was stupid. I didn't like how Cara was helping. Theo said that he actually did worse than what they made it seem. So that's interesting. And he said that Cara was helping him too. It looked like Horatio was trying to help Nerys. And I understand everyone wants to help out their loved ones, their friends. But I mean, it's a challenge, a free for all. Everyone, man for themselves. I don't think anybody should have been allowed to help, period. No matter who you are. Helping people. And then Anissa said that she wants to beat Cara for the limit. And that's another one of the million interesting dynamics I was looking forward to this season. Was Anissa and Cara both tying for the same amount of wins, and will they, beat each other? Will they continue to stay tied? Well, that's going to be interesting to see. I'm really excited for that. Leroy comes out of retirement, so that was interesting. I know it's really annoying seeing people, retire just to come back to the show, and they didn't really retire. But I understand the bills ain't going to pay themselves, and, yeah, kids require a lot of money, and I'm really happy for Leroy and Cam. Wish them nothing but the best. Wish them happiness. Tina really honestly exceeded all our expectations. Honestly, I didn't expect Tina, so kudos to her. Good job to her, because she did a lot better than I thought she would. Okay, so Michelle wins, and it was pretty crazy that Jenny almost beat her, because if Jenny really did win, I fully believe it would have been Michelle going into the elimination because of, Horatio and Michelle's beef from last season. So Michelle is really lucky. That's the difference between her making it as far as she does and her possibly going home first. So that's really crazy. So Corey actually says that he worked on his puzzle skills this season. So that's interesting. I was surprised when he got first. I was like, how? But he said that he's been working on his puzzles with his daughters. And that's interesting that he wants to get better. And yeah, he actually did a pretty good job. So Devin swims. His boat falls and he swims. And he still somehow beats Leroy. So yeah, my man Leroy is not good with water. Him and water do not get along, because it should have been Devin in last, but Leroy got last. Devin is fucking beasted that water. He swam. He did really good. Devin's a beast, yo. So Era 3, I want to say, is my era. It's my favorite era. It's when I started watching. Era 3 is my era. And they embarrassed me. They embarrassed me so hard this episode. They embarrassed this shit out of me this episode. They really embarrassed me hard. At least the edit, I don't know if it was the edit or if it was real, but the edit made it look like they just did a terrible job in that challenge. So it's like, oh my God. It really did embarrass me. So now we move on. I think we move on to the deliberation, I think. Ryan says something like, he was friends with Laurel, but he kind of took Nicole's side, and his friendship with Laurel was falling apart. And being pro Nicole is not a good thing to me. I think she's a terrible person. So ending a friendship for her just isn't it for me. So I don't know how to feel about Ryan at this point, but we'll see where that dynamic goes and where we go with him. Laurel obviously isn't gonna say Emily because Emily's a fucking beast, so she can either choose somebody she doesn't know and Aviv. So it's obviously gonna come down to Cara and Aviv for Laurel, because Aviv could. Well, let me go over. So Laurel and Bananas win Air 2. Um, Katie and Derek, no, Katie and Mark lose Air 1. CT and Rachel win Air 1. Um, Ryan and Kellyanne lose for Air 2. Leroy and Nia lose for Air 3. Tori and Corey win for Air 3. Horacio and Michelle win for Air 4. And then Nuries and Theo lose for Air 4. So that sets up some pretty interesting dynamics where, like, Horacio and Nuries are in a tough spot. I didn't like how Nuries was talking. I think she took accountability on Twitter, but I don't like how she was talking to Horacio like that. She seemed really irritated. It was pretty crazy that she got last after her amazing performance last season. So yeah, next week is going to be very interesting with that. But yeah, so Laurel isn't going to say Emily. So it really is down to Cara and Aviv for her. She can easily go the personal route and get her revenge on Cara. Or she could do Aviv, who she doesn't really know and doesn't have any relationships with. So that's interesting. Polly basically says that Cara is one of the best, if not the best, female competitor, and she should go in. I loved how Johnny said that his dad fought there in the first infantry division in Vietnam, and he wore his actual dog tags. Like, that's poetic as shit. If that's not if that's not poetry, I don't know what is. So I guess this really was meant to be for Johnny. That was really interesting for me there. I love how Tina said, like, Tina says back in the day her and Era 1 could get down, but now she is very tired and Era 1 needs their sleep. So that's how it happens when you grow up, become parents, get older. That was interesting. Tony, Corey. I love how I think Rachel at one point says, don't look at it as we're old, look at it as like we're the legends and we're the backbone of this franchise. I like that. I like how she explained that, because you're not old, It's not what it's about. I like how she explained that. Okay, so Tony and Corey have a conversation that I want to get into later because I have a lot of thoughts on that. What Johnny said about being a power couple in the Challenge House could not be any... It honestly couldn't be any more true, because Johnny says that being a couple in the Challenge House does not go well, and he's right. Johnny has had Johnny got a lot of slack for the whole Natalie thing, the Angela thing, his relationship with Morgan. Not only did he get second boot that season, but it ended up in flames for him. So yeah, yeah, he was right, honestly. A power couple in the house is always, always, always a recipe for disaster. And it always, and like, when was the last time a power couple actually did it? I know Tori and Brad won it, but that was a long time ago. I know Tori and Jordan have made finals together. I know Cam and Leroy, so I think those are the last two examples. Cam and Leroy, Tori and Jordan. Those are the last two examples of power couples that actually ended up doing well together. But a majority of the time, power couple is always a recipe, because you always get targeted. Oh, you're gonna have their back before mine. Like, it's always a recipe for disaster. Johnny knows that better than anyone. He speaks from experience. He's 100% right in this case scenario. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that takes us with Horacio and Neri's dynamics. Are they gonna prove us wrong and kill this season together, or will their season end in tragedy? And will we be proven right? That's gonna be interesting to see. Josh has a politics scene, basically. Say what we want about Josh. He may be annoying, he may be a crybaby, but that boy can politic his ass. He arguably has the best social game probably in Challenge history. He has so many friends. He never gets thrown into elimination until the last minute. If he could do eliminations, he'd be unstoppable. He'd be a challenge legend. He'd make if only he could do eliminate, because he's honestly like a beast socially. It's just his physical game. He just needs to get better in elimination, because he can compete socially. So yeah, he politics with Jenny and Theo. And basically, I think he wants Polly to get thrown. Theo says he wants to volunteer against Polly. So I want to see that next week to see if he really stands on business. That's interesting. So Leroy actually says that he didn't want to bring pictures of his baby because he thinks it makes him look weaker. And that is very interesting to me, because we don't usually hear that. Corey was looking at his child like every episode of like Total Madness and other seasons. So it's interesting that he said that. So no judgment at all, because we're all different. But I don't know. I feel like if I had a newborn baby, I don't think I'd be able to leave, because I think Cam had her baby like right before filming started. So that's why Cam obviously couldn't be on the season. So I don't think I could do it. Like, no judgment to anyone who would do it. That's fine. And obviously, he's doing it for money. He's leaving his baby in order to make money for his baby. But I don't know. I feel like I would just get too attached to my newborn. I don't think I would be able to do it. I mean, I get the bills ain't gonna pay themselves, the diapers, the formula isn't gonna pay itself. I know that, but I don't think I could do it. I feel like it'd have to be a while before I like spent 3 months, mind you, 3 months. No judgment to him at all. It's his life. He can do whatever he wants to do. I'm proud of him for making that bag for his baby, but I don't think I could do it. So CT and Derek talk about who to send in. They say, oh, CT wants Darrell. Derek says, so Era One has a really interesting dynamic here because they're all friends. They're all friends. They're all risking, and that's what I love about the show. That's what I always wanted this show to come back to. Like, you're forced in a position where you might have to backstab a friendship, and it creates drama, and it makes the show interesting. So that's what I'm excited to see. CT wants Darrell. Derek wants fourth place to go in, aka Darrell, because he thinks that'd be the fairest. But at the same time, Brad is kind of the odd man out because he doesn't have the same amount of friendships everyone has. But I think CT said, if anything, he said something along the lines of, is if there's anything I've learned in this challenge, is that friends don't help you win. And that couldn't have been more truer. Sometimes you have to, like, I feel like Sarah and Bananas on Exes 2 was a perfect example of that. You can be friends with someone all day long, but that shit is not going to help you win that $1 million. Or even back in the day when it wasn't that. Regardless, like, it's a big amount of money. It's life-changing money. Friendship isn't going to help you get that. So, yeah, honestly, he was right. He was 100% right in what he said. So, yeah. Era One is interesting with all the friendships because they all talk, they're all friends. So I can't wait to see where that goes next week. So Rachel and Mark have a scene together, basically pretty much what I already went over. There's so many different friendships. And so Tina is really close with Rachel, and she kicked ass in that challenge. So she's obviously off the table. She did pretty good. So yeah, there's no way. So that leaves it down between Jody and Anissa. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see who she chooses. So now we get to the interrogation. So I seen clips of people flipping over the hourglass in the trailer, and I was like, I wonder what that's about. And that's the amount of time they had to talk. And I really, really like, I don't know why, but I really like the idea of that. I think that's pretty dope. So Era One interrogation, Derek actually volunteers himself. Surprisingly enough. And I love how CT says whenever somebody wants to volunteer, let them. I'm like, exactly, because I remember there was a situation on War of the Worlds 2 where they got angry at Esther for volunteering. Like, why on earth would you get angry? It's literally less blood on your hands, so why not let somebody volunteer? Like, you don't have to worry about backstabbing anybody. And I love how Darrell says, I love you, but I don't I love you, but I don't love you that much. I like that. So yeah, Derek volunteered. That's interesting. Ryan calls out Brandon and said he wants to go against Brandon. Brandon obviously takes that personally, so that's interesting because Derek's his best friend, so he doesn't want to go up against him. Nehemiah, I think he said he was scared of Nehemiah because he beat him before, so I guess that left Brandon. So that's gonna be interesting. Will they give him what he wants, or will they not? So now we finally get to this Tony and Corey thing that I talked about earlier. So this is really interesting to me. Let me tell you why. So Tony says, I know we have our beef in the past, Corey, with the whole pasta thing, but you would rather face me in a final than Jordan, so get Jordan out. That's interesting to me. So this is the thing with that, because there's so many different layers to that. At one point, yes, obviously you should get rid of Jordan because nobody, like if Jordan makes that final and it's individual, it's pretty much a wrap because he's going to win it. So you do need to get him out. But the thing with throwing that shot this early is that there's a lot of game left to play. So he could easily come back and he can get you. And nobody really ever gets away with getting Jordan out. Ryder dies, they send him into elimination and he comes right back. He sends him home the next week. So he wins a challenge that he said, so I mean, it is kind of, like, it's pretty risky because, I mean, it's Jordan we're talking about. He's going to come back and he's going to be pissed. Another interesting way to think about this is that Tony, okay, so first off, I honestly don't believe a word Tony says. Like, I really don't believe a word Tony says because Tony, after the events of Vendettas, I don't trust anything he says. So, like, he tells you to your face that he wants to work with you. He gets power, then he backstabs you. That was the game he played on Vendettas. Anyone who watched Vendettas knows, like, that's what he did every week. He promised people that he'd keep him safe. He got him power, and he backstabbed them, and he ended up sending them in. So, like, if I'm in that position, I want to believe that Tony wants to work, and he's telling me the truth, but I don't know if I can, because let's say Corey does throw in Jordan, he keeps Tony safe. The next week, Tony gets power, and he throws in Corey. You know what I'm saying? So I just wouldn't trust the word he says. So, like, there's a lot of different layers to this. Yes, you should get Jordan out. No, it's too risky. I don't really know if I can, like, because Tony is a liability. He's like a wild card. You don't know what he's going to do. Like, after what I saw in Vendettas, I don't know what he's going to do. It seems to me like he really could just be either one, he really is telling the truth and he wants to work with Corey to get Jordan out, or he really is just saying that shit just to save his ass, and he does plan on backstabbing Corey. So yeah, I don't trust a word Tony says. I feel like it'd be in my best interest to get Tony out, especially if I had a prior beef with him. So yeah, that was really interesting to me. There's so many layers to that, rather than just, like, it's not black and white, rather than just, oh, we need to get Jordan out or whatever. And I love what Jordan said about, I understand what Tony means by wanting to get me out because he doesn't want me in a final, but at the end of the day, Corey, you got to get there first. And that could not have been truer, because at the end of the day, you do need to get to the final first. You do need to worry about getting there first. You honestly do. So, yeah, I think people are usually too caught up on one. Either they're too caught up on winning it, or they're only caught up on getting there. And you do have to worry about both of them. Getting there first, and you got to worry about winning it. So yeah, you do have to worry about both of them. You do have to worry about getting there first. So yeah. This next part was funny to me. So Janae says in her confessional, pretty much what I've been thinking this entire time, is that Tony is pretty much screwed. Like, there's honestly no amount of politicking he can do, because Devin is Tori's ride or die. Jordan is somebody who has a lot of history with. So, I mean, Tori was she was never gonna, like, Tori is 100% willing. Anyone who has watched the seasons of the challenge would know that Tori is 100%, she's 100% willing to stalemate to get to keep Devin and Jordan safe. So even if Corey were stupid enough to be like, no, we're gonna save Tori, it would be him going up. I mean, we're gonna save Tony. It would be him going up against Leroy, and he could possibly be the first boot. And why on earth should he sacrifice that for Tony and Amanda, I'm gonna get to in a second. So, yeah, I don't know why he would sacrifice that for two people who are, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really is stupid. Like, Tori was never saying Devin and Jordan's name. And that kind of leads me to the next part. So I really loved how Tori just stayed silent the entire time. It was honestly really funny. Because she knew that she knew the whole time that Amanda and Tony were going in. She knew, like, there was honestly nothing for her to say. Like, she knew that Tony and Amanda were going in. So I love how she stayed silent the whole time. So let's go in. Wait, what did I get? No, we don't. No, I'm gonna get into Amanda later. Yeah, we're gonna get, because they don't really show Amanda argue. They kind of cut it to it. And one thing, I liked how they showed all four at the same time rather than just doing one. I liked how they did that. I was wondering if they weren't gonna do it like that, and I'm happy they did that. So let's get to Nuri's decision. All right, so Horacio, I think it was pretty obvious from the moment Horacio and Michelle won that it was going to be Nuri's decision. He was going to leave it up to Nuri's. But that's what makes it so messy, is Michelle is Olivia's number one girl. Nuri's and Horacio still have beef with Olivia and want to do anything to get her out of the game. So that makes this all... So some things really were meant to be. That makes this all the more interesting. Like, is Michelle going to... Is she going to call it and say Olivia? Or is she going to stay loyal and possibly stalemate for her? So that's what I'm looking forward to next week. Olivia said on Twitter that she had a lot of talks. And I think it was already rumored. Like, she talked a lot with Nuri's that wasn't shown. And it sucks that they don't show any of that in the edit. She had good talks with her. She had bad talks with her. I wish they would have shown those talks. Nuri's doesn't want to go up against Casey because she's strong. Jenny's pretty strong too, so that kind of does leave Olivia. And she did beat her last season, so this is what's really... I love how interesting it is to see, like, her three choices are pretty stacked. She has Jenny and Casey. She has Olivia too. If she loses to Olivia, that's going to be really fucking embarrassing. That's going to be embarrassing. But yeah, so Nuri's is kind of like in a hard space here. Like, she doesn't know what to do. So yeah, she's leaning more so towards Olivia, so I can't wait to see this. So Michelle cries. I'm like, wow. I don't feel bad for her at all. Kylan pretty much put my thoughts into exact words. Like, this is the exact position you put Kylan, Nuri's, and Horacio in last season, throwing them into every elimination. So now you know how it feels. Like, I honestly don't feel bad for her. Like, I really don't. I thought it was so funny that she was crying, because there was literally no reason for her to be crying. Literally no reason to cry. Like, you're in a position of safety. Like, this is the game of the challenge. You might have to backstab friends. You're gonna have to cross enemies. Like, I don't know why she was crying. So Aviv's dynamic in this season is interesting because she's the one person who doesn't have. She put up a pretty good case. She doesn't have any friendships, but she doesn't have any rivalries either. I think she has the longest hiatus, not only of everyone this season, but in challenge history. She hasn't been on since she won Fresh Meat 1 with Darrell, so that's really interesting. So yeah, I love what Carr said about Johnny respectfully. If it were not for a man and a woman sitting there, I would be sitting in your seat. That was pretty true. I liked how she said that. So I don't remember what I was gonna say. So Kara says you have a choice. You can send me in, take the personal route, pray to God that I don't come back, or you can save me and pray and work with me in the future. So I'm gonna say this now. I fully believe, and this is where I'm kind of gonna get to. I fully believe if Kara was sitting in Laurel and Banana's spot, she would 100% send them in. I mean, after the events of War of the Worlds 2, I don't get why anyone would be shocked that Laurel and Bananas take the personal route. Because, I mean, did you not watch the season? Did you not see what happened? Did you not see what Kara did to Bananas? You know, and I fully do, because Kara tried to change the subject, but I fully believe if Laurel and Bananas were in Kara's spot, Kara would have sent both of them in, honestly. I fully believe she would have. So I love seeing War of the Worlds 2 get reversed, and like Kara and Polly are the ones at the bottom pleading their cases while Laurel and Bananas and everyone else is at the top. So I do love seeing things get reversed, and I'm really excited to see the War of the Worlds 2 dynamic get continue. I'm going to get into that later. That's something we've been waiting for a really long time. So Kara's a lot calmer now. I don't remember what I was going to say here, but yeah, I don't believe Kara if she were to say that if she were to keep them safe. This next part was really funny. Emily says to be back after 10 years and have nothing be different is really crazy. Johnny's still an asshole. Laurel and Kara are still at each other's throats. It's so funny. It's really funny. Tina says, oh, we should send in fourth place to have this be the least messy as possible. And I'm like, girl, Tina, you are the queen of messy. And I love how Anissa said it's going to be messy regardless. And I was like, exactly. It's going to get messy regardless. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's going to be messy no matter what. And Anissa kind of contradicted herself this episode, because at one point she says, oh, I want to go into elimination and beat Car's record, but then she says, I don't want to go into elimination, so I don't know what you like. Do you want to go in? Do you not want to go in? Like, I hate it. One of my biggest pet peeves with this show is when people say that they want to go in, but whenever it comes time, they back out of it or pussy out and say, I don't want to go in, and just be a bitch about it. I don't like that. I really don't like that. So see, I think they say that. This next part was pretty funny too. CT says he's going to do the woman, and Rachel is going to do the men to make it as fair as possible. And Anissa says, oh, CT has thrown me in before, so Rachel, you doing that right there is not saving me. That is so funny. So yes, Anissa knows she's pretty much screwed with CT winning, because he's obviously going to say her name and has no issue doing it. No surprise there. But like I said before, this is why the dynamics are so interesting. I love seeing friends throwing each other, people get backstabbed. That's why the show was always so interesting, and it kind of faded away at one point, and I think this season is finally going to bring it back, which is why I'm so excited. So, oh my god. Okay, so I am going to get into Amanda next. Okay, this next part made me very upset. All right, let's get into Amanda here. Amanda says, Corey, we both have Nelson to fight over. And I'm like, it can't just... Corey said it himself. Like, it can't just be Nelson. This is $1 million. I mean, he loves Nelson, and you shouldn't just use Nelson and his injury and his tragedy and what happened to him as an excuse to be safe. Like, oh, we both have a friend who... Like, no. Like, that's Like, it's just terrible to use that against somebody. Like, no. Like, he said it perfectly. It can't just be Nelson. And then, yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say here. So, and then Amanda says to Tori, this next part was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in challenge history. Okay, Amanda says, Tori, I'm not going to pretend to be your friend now. I don't like you now, didn't like you before this, I'm not going to like you after this. And she says, but you should keep me here because we have the same friends, surprisingly, and keeping me here is inadvertently keeping you here because I have friends who are going to keep you safe. And that didn't make any sense to me. That was incredibly stupid. Like, what do you mean we both have... At the end of the day, Amanda, same thing I said with Car. If you weren't in that seat, it would have been Tori going in against Nia. So that right there is all the reason I have to send you in, because I keep you safe this time because we have mutual friends. Like, what? And then next week you get power and then you backstab me and you send me in. Like, no. No. Like, Amanda, this is why Amanda and Tony needed to be voted in. They're a liability. They're wild cards. You don't know what they're going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they threw challenges to target their teammates like Laurel and Bananas did. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. Like, the second they get power, they're going to be messy. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going to be nasty. They're going to throw in their vendettas and backstab their own teammates. So, honestly, I would keep Avery over me. I would keep a random stranger. Like, I thought it was funny how Avery said, you don't know me yet, so that's why you should keep me safe. I was like, but at the same time, I would rather keep Avery in because she's a good competitor. She's going to do what she needs to do for the team. She's going to, be a team player, but Amanda isn't going to do any of that. So what do you mean? Oh, like, I don't know. It was just stupid. At the end of the day, Amanda, like I said with Tony, if Tori keeps you safe this round, you're literally going to send her in the second you get power. So no, she absolutely should send you in. I mean, you're not that good of a competitor. You're not going to be a team player. You're not going to coexist. Like, I don't get why she couldn't just you're not going to coexist with Tori on the same team. So I think that's probably what I was going to say. Like, Tony and Amanda honestly just need to go. They both need to go into elimination. Like, I don't care. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Amanda really, I could do a whole video on it. I don't know if I want to get into Amanda now or if I want to get into her next week. But honestly, Amanda makes me angry because this whole beef with Tori, like, it's why she can't make a final. She calls out Tori in an elimination that is possibly physical when she could have called out somebody else. She works against Tori, knowing her and the MTV people had no allies or numbers on USA 2, and she still decides to work against Tori. Excuse me. And she doesn't even want to work with Tori this season when they're on the same team. So it's like, I don't know what to do with her at this point. Like, if she would just drop this, I don't know why she doesn't like Tori. If she could just drop this fake beef she has with Tori, she honestly could make it farther, honestly. Like, I honestly believe if Amanda would just be friends with Tori, she could have said Avery's name, and she could have made her first final this season. But now, we'll never know, because she won't drop this stupid beef with Tori. Like, it's so stupid. I don't know why, because this really is Amanda's downfall. She really does put personal shit above the game, and that's why she can never win, and it annoys me, because I want to root for her. I want her to make a final really bad, but it seems to me like she doesn't want it, and she's okay with just stirring drama and leaving episode 1 or 2 or 3, so I don't know what to do with her at this point. It's wild. Alright, so now we get into the final scene, and this right here, folks, is everything I've been waiting years. I've been waiting years to see this come back to the challenge. Old wounds coming back to the surface and like old flames reigniting, and oh my god, everything that I've been waiting for. So Theo and Polly get into this argument. Polly confronts Theo or whatever. He pleads his case as to why he shouldn't go into elimination. And then he confronts Theo and says, so Theo, I think it says something along the lines of, Theo, if you want to go into elimination with me, say it to my face. I don't remember his exact wording. I got so hyped. This is everything I've been waiting to see. And this is why I think season 40 is going to go fucking crazy and go down in the history of the challenge. This is going to be one of the best. So I love this because I've been waiting so long to see this dynamic continue. I've been waiting so long. Theo and Polly get into War of the Worlds 2. Like, oh, Theo says, because Polly sent Theo into a bunch of eliminations for whatever reason, and then Polly says they threw the challenge to get my girlfriend sent in. Theo says I didn't have anything to do with that. Polly says that he knew. He doesn't explain how, but later on in an Instagram story, he says, oh, you and the UK boys were chatting it up on the bus during the challenge, talking about who to send into elimination. Like, that means almost nothing. Just because they were talking about who's going into elimination on the bus doesn't mean anything. Theo said that himself. Like, that doesn't mean anything. So I honestly don't believe Theo was in on the plan to throw the challenge to get Cara in. I don't know. Theo denies it. Polly says he knew. Theo denied. They fight. And Theo tells Polly to his face that he wants to volunteer, and I am so ready to see. I cannot wait for next week and the rest of this season. I would love to see Theo and Polly hash it out in the elimination arena. They say they want to hash it out like men, do what they need to do in elimination. And like Olivia said in her closing confessional, this season is going to be the season to end all seasons. Are we going to stay friends forever? Are we going to stay enemies forever? We're finally going to find out who the GOAT is, who's better than who. We're going to settle. There's a lot of scores that need to be settled, and there's a lot of business that needs to be handled, and there's a lot of things that need to be finished and wrapped, and I am so excited for it. Laura and Cara's dynamic. Just so many things. This whole thing with Polly and Theo, Horatio, Nerds, and Olivia. Like, this is going to be the season to end and finish all of it. And then I'm so ready. And then we finally move into a new era. I've been waiting for the challenge season to end all challenge seasons. and this is the season that we needed, and I am so fucking excited. But yeah, that was my review on the premiere of The Challenge, Battle of the Eras, Season 40, Episode 1. I can't wait for I will be doing weekly reviews for the rest of the season, and I cannot wait for next week. So yeah, that is going to be interesting. Goodbye now.